Alright guys, back for another video, and this time I think I figured out how to fix my video issue. I had somebody complain saying that the skinny look was not it, and I apologize. It's been a while since I've done this, and this phone is very old, so everything from the editing to the video quality will get better over time as I do this, so just bear with me. But anyway, so at the car in question, which is our 14 Durango RT, I want to point out a few things with cars that you let sit for a while, plus some things we're going to look at here in the garage and the engine. And one of the things I wanted to point out was what to do when your car's been sitting a long time. So for me, as you can see, I kind of did my best to tie everything up and held out of the place, keep the transmission lifted up. A lot of these connectors and harnesses and stuff, I would suggest that the longer these things sit, and this one will have been sitting for almost a year now, to make sure you make an effort to come out here and check on the car. So I've checked on this car at least about once a month or so since we started this process to look at the harnesses. I use a rodent repellent in the interior that's real popular around here for tractors and stuff that sit a lot. It's got a nice cedar smell to it, but supposedly it's like a real pungent smell for rodents, which I keep that in the interior, so it will at least mitigate the chance of you having surprise electrical issues once you start this thing and power this thing up for the first time in a long while. It's kind of hit or miss because you can't do a whole lot about it. Like, stuff happens. The other thing I would suggest is to keep an eye out for hoses, especially open hoses and coolant systems. If you can remember to flush those things, flush all that, and just take a good look, see, clean out leaves like here. The leaves and stuff, this is all full with leaves and acorns and everything that fall down into the crevice. That stuff, right? So with that being said, I'll show you what I'm using. See if I can find one in here. Right here. Oh, right there. This stuff. They say it's 100% guaranteed. Like I said, that's just marketing. So, it does two things. It supposedly keeps rodents out. For the stuff that has any residual oil and stuff in it, like I try to keep the cleaner items in here and lay it on something. It also gives it a nice smell, because as the longer these things sit, the worse it gets. So there's that. Now, back into my little clutter in here. It's my oil pan bolts. Want to share a few things on the engine build that I discovered while I was putting this together the other day. I talked about the coolant plugs, which are here, and then I forgot a bunch of things on the old short block when I sold it. So this deal here that runs the MDMS, the cam sensor, if you have a full-blown like lockout, you don't need that. You can actually run a plug in there and delete that harness, as well as the plugs I have for the MDS solenoids. I don't have a lockout. I have a 8-degree limiter. And since I have a limiter, the ECM will still read that or PCM rather, will still read that to some degree. So I'll still need that. The other thing I did not know, here we go. So on the 5.7s, this port here is plugged, but on the 6.4s, they're not, because that's where the oil pressure sensor goes on the trucks. And had I not conversed with Thomas, the master tech, mind you, for Hemis, I wouldn't have known that and would have made quite a mess, because I went to visit his shop the other day to get some spare rear main seal bolts, because I seem to have lost mine. And he was like, I was like, hey, are there any, since I discovered that water plug issue, or missing plug rather, is there anything else I should be aware of on this block in the way of oil and coolant patches way, so I don't have any, nasty surprises? And so he just kind of went through some stuff that I should be aware of, and for the most part, I got everything that I need to be concerned about as far as this engine's concerned. But that plug wasn't one of them at the time. So shout out to Thomas for helping me out, realize that. The other issue I'm going to have is the oil pan. So on the 5.7 RTs, at least mine, which is rear-wheel drive, it's not all-wheel drive, the oil pan is plastic, so is the industry tray. It's kind of like a combined setup, which is whatever. I mean, you do it for cost. So because I have not only a stroker, but I think it's the second biggest stroker you can run in this platform in the stock block. The one above this is a 440, I believe. It's not going to clear, and I can't clearance it either. because it's all designed for the 5.7 stroke. So I have to buy an aftermarket pan and windage tray / gasket, because it's like a 2-piece deal on these. So I can either run the 6.4 pan, metal pan, out of the 6.4 Durango / Jeep SRTs, or I can run like a Moroso. I believe Holly makes one, I just found out. And then or something to that effect with an MMX or similar pre-clearance windage tray / gasket. So I'll probably end up doing that. It's kind of sucks, but I need to get hot on the resolution, because I mean, my goal is to have that car out there running by the end of the month. On top of that, I have to tackle this blower issue. Well, it's not really an issue. I'd like to have that on the car and, you know, buy the belt one time and all that kind of stuff too at the same time. But I gotta work the deal for the blower, or else it'll be naturally aspirated and then supercharge it later, which I don't really want to do, simply because the ring gap and everything about this setup is for forced induction. And although that may not matter as far as braking is concerned, I want it to break in exactly the way that I intend on driving the car. And if I have any issues, I want to discover them under boost early in the braking procedure, not way later after the fact. So there's that. The paint job didn't come out too bad. I actually quite like it. Now that the paint's been on the block for a few days and it's continued to set, if you will, because it's got some ceramic enamel in it and everything, it gets nice and shiny like a freshly painted engine block should look from when I sprayed it. I used some parts cleaner to get all the machined areas back clean again and wiped everything down. It looks pretty good. Now granted, you're not going to see it, obviously, but I'll know it's there. That and painted blocks are a lot easier to find leaks than non-painted blocks. So your top tip of the day. We'll replace the thermostat. This water pump, I just reused it because I just changed it maybe a year ago. If for whatever reason it decides to give me issues, they're pretty easy to change. I've changed one in about 30 minutes. So I don't think that's a big enough of a reason to not install it or go spend $200 for a new one when I have one that's fairly new. The balancer, which is an AT, didn't look like it would work, but if you look here, it lines up just fine. The reason I was concerned, because the factory one has this big space in it that this one doesn't have. See? And then if you look at the ATI, it's not there. So when I first took it out of the box and eyeballed it, I was like, oh man, I hope this is the right balancer, because whatever. That has happened to me before. On my GTO, actually, I had bought a harmonic balancer, but it was for a Corvette, not a GTO. And although the GTO uses Corvette accessories, it doesn't use a Corvette balance, if that makes any sense. The front covers are different, and the balancer back setting is different. So I ended up having to take it off and lost a little bit of money because I had drilled it and all this other stuff, whatever. So that crisis was averted. I used the old trick of putting a couple of flex plate bolts in the back of the crank with a pry bar leveraged against the engine stand itself to torque it. ARP has you, because I used the ARP crank bolt, has you torque the crank bolt to 140 foot-pounds. So I got that done. I added some red Loctite to the ATI balancer. It comes Loctited sort of out of the box, but they tell you in the instructions to Loctite it to make sure it's good. It's already out, it's already on the engine stand, so it doesn't make any sense to not do that extra step. The other thing I have to figure out is if I'm going to install the heads while the engine's on the engine stand, or if it's in the car. And that's important because right now I have all of this extra space for activities, right? I can go in and around, I can move the engine stand, whatever. So in regards to making sure the torque is good and the clearances are good, putting in the push rods and measuring them and all that kind of stuff, like you want to do that as easy as possible. And when it comes to torquing the heads down and the valve train, I can do that more easily out of the car, because I can get around the whole engine, make sure everything's level and whatever, make sure the push rods are seated properly without having to worry about crawling over a fender or the radiator or whatever. But we'll see. I can take this similar front end and put this in there, but I'll have to do it with the long tubes on. And I haven't met anyone with a Durango who's done that to verify, yeah, you can do that without having to move a harness or lower the K-member or whatever. So that's the only other issue I have, is trying to figure out which route I'm going to take. You could put it in without putting long tubes on and then put them on while they're in the car. You don't want that smoke. Trust me. If you've ever put on long tubes on a modular Ford Mustang, the Hemi arguably is the next most ridiculous way to do it, as far as just because how the heads are laid out inside of the car. The GTO, on the other hand, I'll put long tubes in those all day long. It takes almost no time at all. But this, because of the head design and the confinement inside the engine bay, not so much. Well, whatever. So, be that as it may, I'm pretty excited. We are an oil pan pickup tube and push rods away from having a running long block. Obviously, the blower is part of the plan. I'm talking to my buddy now, Tanner, who has a Hellcat blower, trying to work a deal on where I can get it with stuff I have in trade versus cash. Because if you are a car enthusiast like I am, you would much rather trade stuff you don't need for stuff you want versus trying to buy more stuff and still have stuff you don't need. So there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man. It looks great. I'm super excited. I can't believe I've made it this far. It's taken a long time, but here we are. So for those of you out there who are still waiting to start your projects and to, you know, one day soon I'll get it. Nah, dude, just jump out there and get it. Jump out there and get it, because I know without a shadow of a doubt, as soon as this thing's up and running again, we're going to hit the ground hard and travel as a family, because the Durango is much, well, I won't say more comfortable. The Range Rover beats it out comfort-wise, 1,000 to 1. But as far as space is concerned, and things and traveling and kid, I have teenagers, 2 teenagers, and a 5-year-old. You're touching me. No space with it. The Durango is much better suited for that. That, and I still have to do the 80,000 mile range maintenance on the Range Rover, which includes pulling the blower, checking the fluids. They recommend you change a water pump at that time, the oil cooler and all that stuff, and I can't do that if it's the only car we have, because that sort of reliable EJ25 spun a rod or something, because I went to use it the other day and I got a thud, and I was like, that's all she wrote. I'm not even mad, because I bought it knowing for the $2,500 it was going to go one or two ways. And so when I had to put head gaskets on it, I was like, whatever, man, it was $2,500. It's a starter car, so if my kid wads it up, I'm not mad. Well, now I'm just annoyed because it's turning into something more than I intended. But like I told him yesterday, I'm not doing it by myself. Because if I do it by myself and fix it by myself, I'm going to get rid of it by myself, and I'll use that money to go into this car, this is my actual car. This is a car our relationship started on, all the traveling with the family. So this is the one I give a shit about. That Subaru, not so much. So they're going to learn today. Anyway, hopefully this video format, now that I figured out how to make it wide, which I guess I had to turn it sideways, but I normally have the phone locked because it annoys me when it does that any other time, with the right aspect ratio for YouTube, works a little bit better for you guys. I'll try to get a stand and a stick or whatever, and we'll just kind of evolve video quality from there. But my biggest concern is just to get the information out to you guys, get the information out to you, and to make sure that I'm conveying my message as best as I can, and get more comfortable in front of the camera and all that stuff. Just kind of go from there. But this is exciting. This is exciting. It looks amazing. I'm really proud of it, and hopefully it makes good power and runs reliably for a long time. We're not necessarily doing race car things. We'll do race-y things, but we're not doing race car things with this engine. This is designed to be relatively smooth, powerful, reliable, tow the stuff, tow the family, and maybe slap around the occasional X5, X6, or Audi, whatever, while we're out and about traveling as a family. So, but yeah, man, yeah, I'm stoked. I'm super stoked. So the next update won't probably be for a while, because I try to do this stuff when I make changes or something significant comes up. And right now we're pretty much on a parts hold, because you need money for parts and I gotta sell stuff and whatever. So the next update probably won't be for a week, maybe 2, unless something significant happens, like I get a hold of a pan and decide to put the short block in and then do the heads or whatever later. But just bear with me. I'm just one guy. one guy with one sponsor for this car. So if you have an oil pan that you're just like, hey bro, here you go. Hey, I'm not too proud. I'm not too proud. Until then, that's what we're waiting on. Oil pan pickup tube. And then we could technically install the short block with the TCI flex plate that I got, which was given to me. Appreciate that. That was hey, this was in the shop for 3 or 4 years, and I don't know whatever happened to the guy that brought it here, so you can have it type of situation. I was like, bro, thanks, I'll take it, because I was going to get one of those anyway. So super blessed, super thankful, and everything. But pan pickup tube, head gaskets, which are a special size kinetic for the oversized bore since it is a stroker. And then I can put the rest of the long block together and possibly put it in the car. So I'm excited. I'm glad you guys are on this journey with me, and hopefully I can inspire somebody to do something similar with their setup, regardless of their situation. Because I'm just a regular dude, just like you guys, with a garage full of crap that we're trying to pursue our dreams. So there's that. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching.